our hearts beat.
All right, let's dive into something new today. It's called Mitolyn, and it's been creating quite a buzz, especially among folks looking for a little extra help with weight loss.
Yeah, it definitely seems to be making waves.
We're going to unpack exactly what this Mitolyn is, why it's got everyone talking, and what the science actually says about its potential.
Right. And to do that, we've got Mitolyn's official website pulled up, some interesting scientific articles, and even a few user reviews.
Wow.
So we'll be looking at this from a few different perspectives.
Love it. I got to say, Mitolyn's website is quite the experience. It's full of bold claims, stuff about melting fat and boosting energy. Definitely eye-catching.
Yeah, visually it's very slick. But let's get beyond the surface, What's the core idea they're pushing here?
So this is where things get interesting. Mitolyn's whole premise revolves around this idea of boosting something called mitochondrial levels. Now, before you tune out, I promise it's not as complicated as it sounds. And trust me, once you grasp the role these little guys play, you'll totally get why Mitolyn is creating so much excitement.
Right. I think a lot of people have heard the term mitochondria, but they might not really know what they actually do. So maybe we should break that down a bit.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So picture this. Inside every single cell in your body, you have these tiny powerhouses. They're called mitochondria. And their job is to convert the food you eat into usable energy. Think of it this way. You eat a sandwich, your mitochondria break it down, and the energy released powers, everything you do.
Yeah.
From working out to just breathing.
Essentially, mitochondria are like the tiny energy factories inside our cells.
Yeah.
And how well they work, their efficiency, that plays a big role in our metabolism.
Right.
And that's where Mitolyn's central claim comes in. They say there's a direct link between higher mitochondrial levels and, get this, increased fat-burning potential.
Yeah. Okay, so that makes sense. More energy factories working efficiently means more fuel being burned, right?
Right.
But how does Mitolyn actually propose to achieve this mitochondrial boost?
Well, that's where their unique blend of 6 exotic nutrients and plants comes into play.
Okay.
And each ingredient is supposed to have specific benefits for mitochondrial health.
All right. So we're talking Maqui Berry, Rhodiola, Hematococcus, Amla, Theobroma cacao, and Schizandra. Wow, this is like a pretty exotic cocktail.
It does, doesn't it?
Are these ingredients all hype?
Right.
Or is there some actual scientific substance behind these claims? That's what we'll be breaking down.
Exactly.
So let's start with Maqui Berry. It's this exotic purple fruit packed with antioxidants.
Okay.
Especially these things called anthocyanins. The website mentions research suggesting that these anthocyanins can actually encourage the creation of new mitochondria. It's called mitochondrial biogenesis. Pretty cool, huh?
So it's not just about protecting the mitochondria we already have, but actually creating more of them.
Yeah. Now let's move on to rhodiola, which is an adaptogen. That means it helps our bodies handle stress better. And, we all know stress can really mess with our bodies.
Absolutely. And there are studies that show rhodiola can actually protect mitochondria from damage.
Oh, wow.
And help them function better. So it's like giving our little energy factories a shield.
So we've got a two-pronged approach here, right?
Yeah.
We're potentially creating new mitochondria with the Maqui Berry and protecting the existing ones with rhodiola.
Makes sense.
What's next on the list?
Next up, we have Hematococcus. It's this unique red algae.
Okay.
It's a powerhouse of astaxanthin.
Astaxanthin. I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's a potent antioxidant that's often, it's known for its anti-aging benefits.
Oh, right. Isn't it supposed to be great for your skin?
You're right. It's often found in skincare products. But the research that Mitolyn highlights, it suggests astaxanthin can also increase the number of mitochondria.
So it's a win-win. It supports both cellular health and gives you a youthful glow.
Potentially, yeah.
Well, I'm always up for a 2-for-1.
Yeah.
All right, what about Amla, also known as Indian gooseberry?
Right, Amla. It's another nutrient-rich fruit, and there are studies, Mitolyn sites, that show it may enhance mitochondrial function.
Okay.
And maybe even increase their production as well, so it seems to be supporting our overall health while also giving our mitochondria a boost.
All right, I'm seeing a pattern here. Now, Theobroma cacao, this ingredient really caught my eye. Did this mean chocolate is good for our mitochondria? I am all for that.
Well, it's not quite that simple, but cocoa does have high levels of epicatogen.
Okay.
And that's a compound that research suggests might promote, you guessed it, mitochondrial biogenesis.
So we can't definitively say that indulging in chocolate is the key to boosting our metabolism, but there's definitely some interesting research there.
Right.
I'll take it. Okay, last but not least, we have schizandra, another powerful berry. It's known for its adaptogenic properties.
Right, another adaptogen.
Yeah.
It makes sense when you think about it. Stress can really drain our energy. And, by supporting the body's stress response, we create a better environment for our mitochondria to work at their best.
So each of these 6 ingredients, they seem to have some scientific support
Yeah.
when it comes to potentially supporting mitochondrial health.
Right.
But how do they all work together? What's the proposed mechanism for how Litolin works as a whole?
Well, that's the real question, isn't it? The website suggests that by combining these ingredients, Mitolyn creates a synergistic effect.
Okay.
Meaning they all work together to boost each other's benefits. Essentially, they claim Mitolyn promotes mitochondrial biogenesis, the creation of new mitochondria, which could lead to more fat burning.
Okay, so they're not just saying these ingredients are good for you on their own. They're claiming this specific combination creates a powerful synergy that boosts your mitochondrial levels and therefore your metabolism. Sounds pretty promising. But what about real-world results? Do people actually see a difference?
Well, that's where those customer testimonials on the website come in. We've got Helen, who lost 35 pounds, Peggy, who's down 40, and lots of others saying they have more energy, they're losing weight, they even feel better about themselves. It's pretty impressive.
That is amazing. It sounds like people are really experiencing positive changes. But I know we can't just rely on anecdotal evidence.
You're exactly right. Individual results, they can always vary.
Yeah.
What works for one person might not work for another. And we need to remember, those testimonials are probably a curated selection. We don't hear from everyone who's tried Mitolyn.
Right.
So it's hard to say for sure what the average experience is like.
That's true. It's important to keep a balanced view. Remember that these are individual stories. But those testimonials are definitely intriguing.
Oh, they are. And they raise some good questions. Are these results typical? Is there more to the story than just these positive anecdotes? What does the broader scientific research say about mitochondrial health and its connection to weight management?
Exactly. Those are the questions we'll be exploring as we continue our deep dive. So we've got these individual stories, these amazing reviews. But are they, typical? Are most people having these great results with Mitolyn?
That's a great question. And it's why we need to look beyond those stories and consider the bigger picture. What does the research actually say about mitochondrial health and, how it affects weight management?
Right, because even if these testimonials are totally genuine, there could be other things going on.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe people are also changing their lifestyles, and that's helping them lose weight.
Absolutely. Lifestyle changes can make a huge difference, and that's why it's so important to dig into the scientific literature. We want to see what the research says about mitochondria and weight loss.
Okay, so science time. We know that mitochondria are these tiny powerhouses in our cells, and they convert food into energy.
Right.
But how does that actually connect to losing weight?
Well, the theory is that when our mitochondria are working really well, our metabolism becomes more efficient. We burn more calories, even when we're resting.
So it's like our bodies get better at using the fuel we give them.
Exactly. And that's where the link to weight loss comes in. If we're burning more calories, we're more likely to lose weight or at least maintain a healthy weight.
Okay, that makes sense. But is there actual scientific evidence to back up this theory?
There is some emerging research that suggests a connection between mitochondrial health and weight. Some studies have shown that people with better mitochondrial function tend to have lower body mass indexes, or BMIs.
Oh, interesting. So there's a correlation between those who have more efficient mitochondria and a healthier weight.
That's what some studies are showing, yeah. But it's really important to remember, correlation doesn't necessarily mean causation.
Right.
Just because there's a link doesn't automatically mean that one thing directly causes the other. There could be other things at play.
Yeah, there are always so many factors involved when it comes to something as complex as weight loss.
Exactly. And that's why we need more research. To really understand how mitochondrial health and weight management are connected, it's a fascinating area, but we're still in the early stages of figuring it all out.
So the science is still developing. But let's say, just for argument's sake, that boosting mitochondrial function can actually help with weight loss. Does that mean Mitolyn is the answer?
Well, that is the big question, isn't it? And it's a question we should approach with, a healthy dose of skepticism. While those individual ingredients in Mitolyn do show promise in research, we have to remember Most of those studies looked at the ingredients in isolation, not the specific blend found in Mitolyn.
Ah, okay. So we can't just assume that just because each ingredient has some scientific backing, they're automatically going to work together to create this like superpowered weight loss formula.
Exactly. It's totally possible that combining all those ingredients could create, unexpected interactions. Or maybe the amounts of each ingredient in Mitolyn aren't the best for optimal results.
So it's kind of like a recipe. You can have all the right ingredients, but if you don't mix them the right way or use the right amounts, the dish might not turn out how you expected.
That's a great analogy. And it highlights just how important rigorous scientific testing is when we're talking about supplements like Mitolyn.
Okay, so we need to be careful about assuming Mitolyn will work just because the individual ingredients have been studied. What about those customer reviews then? Do they give us any real insights?
Well, those reviews are definitely interesting to read, but like we talked about earlier, anecdotal evidence is just that. Anecdotes, it's not the same as scientific evidence.
Right. We can't base our conclusions solely on personal stories, no matter how encouraging they might seem.
Exactly. We have to consider the possibility of placebo effects, individual differences in how people respond to the product, and all those other lifestyle factors that might be playing a role in the results people are reporting.
So, as always, it's complicated. But I have to say, even with all those things we've talked about, the idea of improving mitochondrial health as a way to maybe boost metabolism and help with weight loss, that's really interesting to me.
I agree. It opens up a whole new way of thinking about weight management. Instead of just focusing on calories in, calories out, we're looking at what's happening at the cellular level. How can we make those energy factories in our bodies work better?
It's like shifting from a purely external approach to something more internal, more holistic.
Exactly. And I think this new way of thinking has the potential to really change how we approach health and well-being.
Okay, so we've talked about the science, looked at the anecdotal evidence, and acknowledged that we need more research. But let's be real, most people aren't reading scientific journals before they try a product like Mitolyn. They're looking for practical information. They want to know, is it worth it?
You're absolutely right. So let's try to distill everything we've discussed into some key takeaways for our listeners. What are the most important things for them to think about when considering Mitolyn?
Okay, so first things first. It's crucial to remember that Mitolyn is not a magic bullet.
Right.
It's not going to instantly melt away fat or be a guaranteed solution for weight loss.
Exactly. It's a supplement that may potentially support mitochondrial health, which in turn could lead to a more efficient metabolism and maybe help with weight management. But it's not a replacement for a healthy lifestyle.
Right. You still need regular exercise, a balanced diet, enough sleep. All those things are still vital for a healthy weight loss.
Absolutely. Those are the foundations.
Mitolyn, if it works the way they say it does, might enhance those efforts, but it's not a standalone solution.
Exactly. It's about creating a synergistic approach, combining healthy habits with support for our cellular energy.
So working with our bodies, not against them.
Exactly. And that brings us to another important point. Results will vary from person to person.
Right.
What works for one person might not work the same way for another.
Yeah, we all have different bodies, different metabolisms. It's important to have realistic expectations and understand there's no guarantee Mitolyn will be effective for everyone.
Absolutely. And it's also important to be patient. Boosting your mitochondrial health isn't something that happens overnight.
Right.
It's a long-term thing. It's not about instant results. It's about making lasting changes that support our well-being over time.
So it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly. And as with any marathon, consistency is key. If you do decide to try Mitolyn, stick with the recommended dose and give it enough time to work its magic.
And of course, it's always a good idea to talk to your doctor before starting any new supplement, especially if you have any health conditions or are taking other medications.
Absolutely. Always prioritize safety and make informed decisions in consultation with your doctor.
Okay, so we've laid out the important things to consider, but I think there's one more big piece of the puzzle we need to address.
What's that?
The price tag. Mitolyn is not exactly cheap.
You're right, it's a pretty significant investment, and that's something everyone needs to carefully consider before making a decision.
Exactly. It comes down to your personal priorities and your budget. Is potentially boosting your metabolism and supporting mitochondrial health worth the cost? That's a question each person needs to answer for themselves.
And that brings us to the heart of it. Is Mitolyn worth it?
Well, we've explored the science, we've considered those anecdotal stories, we've talked about the potential pros and cons, and we've acknowledged that it's not a small financial commitment.
So, where do we land? What's the final verdict?
That is the question, isn't it? Is it worth it? I mean, we've really dug into the science and heard those personal experiences, but is it enough to convince someone to actually, take the plunge and try Mitolyn?
It's a tough one. And honestly, there's no single right answer. It really comes down to individual preferences, priorities, and budget definitely plays a role.
Yeah, that price tag is something to consider for sure. But if it actually delivers on what it promises, if it boosts energy and helps with weight loss by supporting those mitochondria, well, maybe it's worth it for some people.
Here's the thing. If someone is looking for a quick fix, a miracle solution that's going to melt away fat overnight, Mitolyn is not it. We've been pretty clear about that.
Right, it's not magic.
Yeah.
But what if someone's already living a healthy lifestyle, eating right, exercising, managing stress? Could Mitolyn be like that extra boost they're looking for?
That's an interesting point. If you're already doing those foundational things, then adding a supplement like Mitolyn with its blend of, scientifically studied ingredients could potentially amplify those efforts.
So like adding a turbocharger to an already well-tuned engine.
Exactly. It's not about replacing the basics, it's about enhancing them.
Okay, so for people who are already on that health journey, Mitolyn might be worth checking out. But what about folks just starting out? Should they jump right into the Mitolyn train?
I'd say, walk before you run. Focus on those healthy habits first. The balanced diet, the exercise routine, figuring out how to manage stress. Those are the key building blocks.
Get those foundations strong before adding all the bells and whistles.
Exactly. And you never know, maybe once those healthy habits are in place, they might not even feel the need for Mitolyn. But, if they're still wanting that extra push, they can explore it then, with a better understanding of how it fits into the bigger picture.
That's a really important point. It's about being thoughtful and making conscious choices, not just grabbing whatever new supplement comes along.
Absolutely. And that's what's so great about knowledge, right? It empowers us to make decisions that align with what we want and what's important to us.
Okay, so we've covered a lot today. The science behind Mitolyn, the potential benefits, some of the things to be cautious about, and the importance of a holistic approach. I feel like we've given our listeners a pretty complete picture.
Yeah, I think so too. We've looked at the information from all sides, the website, the research, the user reviews, and we've tried to be balanced in our presentation.
At the end of the day, deciding whether or not to try Mitolyn is a personal decision. But I think we've given our listeners the tools they need to make that decision in an informed way.
And that's what's important, helping people become informed consumers and advocates for their own health.
Absolutely. So if you're intrigued by Mitolyn and its potential to support you on your weight loss journey, we encourage you to do your own research, think about all the factors we've talked about today, and of course, talk to your healthcare provider.
And remember, health is a journey, not a destination. It's about those daily choices that nourish your body and mind.
And if you want to learn more about Mitolyn, you can find a link to their website in the description below.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and keep those mitochondria humming.
And that wraps up another deep dive. Thanks for joining us.